Rimworld Odyssey has added over 40 new animals for you to tame, train, and fight alongside. And with the expansion of what you can train your pets to do, and the powerful new abilities given to some animals, it's more important than ever to know which animals are worth taking into your colony. Which is why today, we'll be going over the 7 animals that you should never overlook when you find them on the Rim. Have you ever had your colonist get kidnapped after a raid, or been unable to catch up to that Itaken who decided to run off with your grav engine? Then keeping a few well-trained crows in your colony could make the difference on whether you can stop that fleeing raider before they escape with your things. Crows may not seem particularly strong at first, with an average DPS of just 0.8 and very little health. However, what makes them useful for combat is the combination of their flight and ability to attack a specific target. This allows them to pursue fleeing targets, while ignoring terrain costs, letting them interrupt the target much more easily than a regular melee pawn, giving the rest of your combatants a chance to finish off the target. The crow is a common sight in a lot of different biomes, and as they only have an animal skill requirement of 2, it's very easy to get a few for yourself. Their rather slow reproduction does limit their effectiveness as cannon fodder, but their wide diet and low hunger rate of 0.13 makes having a few battle crows be a cheap and useful addition to your army. If you are looking for an animal to use on the front lines in combat, try taming a few tigers. They are similar to panthers and cougars, with an average DPS of 4.67, but they have more health, are slightly faster, and only produce half the amount of filth. With them being faster than a human, and being able to attack a specific target, you can send them to quickly interrupt specific enemy ranged units before they have a chance to shoot any of your colonists, or have them serve as a meat shield, while your pawns finish off the enemy at a safe distance. If you are worried about your pawns getting attacked while they're out working, letting them keep a tiger as a bodyguard is a great way to keep them safe, as with their speed and strength, they can easily intercept any manhunters that try to attack. Tigers can be found in tropical rainforests and tropical swamps, and they have an animal skill requirement of 9. They have a very low hunger rate, only needing 0.32 nutrition a day, meaning you can easily support a small army of them by keeping them on a diet of kibble, made from the meat of the raiders they take down. It takes 10 days for a tiger to give birth, and another 30 for them to reach maturity, but as they are tough to kill, you should be able to gradually build up a strong army of tigers to deploy against your enemies. Whether you choose to use a new tiger, or stick to the other big cats, will depend on your situation, as while tigers are stronger, they are also a lot more aggressive, with a 50% chance of attacking when trying to tame them, compared to the 30% of a panther, and, as they are about 3 times as rare as a panther, you might not be able to find one in the first place. But if you do manage to tame one, they can make a great addition to your colony's defense. Mastodons, just like the elephants from the base game, can be a great asset for a colony in a number of different ways, as long as you can afford to sustain its daily 2.9 nutrition requirement. In combat, the mastodon can act as an amazing tank, soaking up damage with their high health, and dealing an average DPS of 6.4, 10% more than the elephant's 5.8. And utilising their new war trumpet ability, they can be commanded to release a powerful roar that causes hostile humans and animals to tremble in fear, reducing their speed and manipulation, giving you a huge advantage in battle. They are also great as pack animals, as they can be ridden for up to 130% caravan speed, can carry 157.5 kilograms, and, along with elephants, are the only pack animals that can also be trained to haul. Also, unlike elephants, the mastodon can be sheared every 20 days, giving 200 mastodon wool, a material that is great for keeping your pawns warm in colder biomes. You can find mastodons in glacial plains and grasslands. They have a minimum animal skill requirement of 8, but be careful taming them, as they have a 10% chance of attacking. If you are living in a region with a lot of water, penguins can be a surprisingly good source of food. Found in coastal sea ice and ice sheet maps, the penguin has a low animal skill requirement of 4, and can produce an egg with 0.5 nutrition every 2 days, providing the same nutrition per day as a chicken. And, as they produce nearly the same meat per nutrition a day, they can be a good substitute in the correct situations. If you have a fishing zone set up, penguins will automatically start fishing when they get hungry, removing the need to feed them yourself. Meaning, in biomes where there isn't enough vegetation for a pen full of chickens, especially on biomes like sea ice, setting up a small penguin farm can be your best option for a self-sustaining source of eggs and meat. If you are able to, you should still use chickens instead, as they provide slightly more food per day and have 0% wildness, unlike the penguin that will occasionally need to be interacted with to keep its tameness. But if that's not an option, then penguins are the next best thing. Rimworld Odyssey has added many other ways for animals to be useful, instead of just for combat or food. The megavole, found in glow forests, are giant rodents that can be trained to mine any marked tiles in their allowed area, letting you stock up on valuable materials like steel or components, without needing a dedicated pawn. Given that they have the equivalent digging skill of a pawn with 8 mining, it can still be useful to have a pawn with a higher skill when mining rarer materials to maximize ore yields. However, as the megavole is unaffected by the light levels in dark tunnels, and they only stop mining to eat or rest, assembling a crew of megavoles will let you easily mine out an entire mountain base, or quickly harvest all the materials you need when landing a grav ship on a new tile. With a minimum handling skill of only 4, and the abundance of them in glow forests, it can be very easy to tame them, and they only have a nutrition requirement of 0.8, half of what a human requires. Given that they can eat almost anything, from grass to corpses, there shouldn't be much of a drain on your food supplies. The only other animal with the digging ability is the megasloth. While they are better in terms of combat, the low food costs, low animal skill requirement, and quick reproduction time of the megavole generally makes them the better option. Moving on to one of the legendary beasts you may encounter on the Rim. The alpha thrumbo is easily one of the best animals you could have in a colony, as long as you're prepared to hunt one of them down. After reading a specific book, you might encounter a quest alert speaking of an alpha thrumbo sighting. Upon visiting that location, you will encounter the alpha thrumbo, alongside a few regular thrumbo. Compared to the already powerful thrumbo, the alpha thrumbo has about 40% more DPS, with an average DPS of 9.7. It also has 50% more health. This makes them amazing in combat, as a tanky melee fighter, letting them be used as the first line of defense against raids, without much worry of them going down. What makes the alpha thrumbo truly great, however, is their signature ability. Once every 4 hours, you can order them to release a terrifying roar, sending most enemies within a 24 tile range into a state of terror, where they'll flee and be unable to attack, giving your pawns a breather, or a chance to pick off enemies as they're running. Taming an alpha thrumbo is incredibly difficult, with a minimum animal skill of 14 to even attempt to tame it, and only a 1.3% success rate with a pawn with max animal skill. And to make it worse, unlike regular thrumbos, the alpha thrumbo has a 10% chance of going manhunter each time you fail to tame it. It's often best to wait for taming inspiration before attempting to tame one of these beasts. Alpha thrumbos are unique in that they can crossbreed with regular thrumbos, with the child being the same race as the mother. So if you are able to tame a single female alpha thrumbo and breed it with a regular male thrumbo, you can get alpha thrumbo calves. It takes 20 days for a thrumbo to give birth, and another 1.3 years for it to reach maturity, so it will be a long time before you can breed more. But if you are able to get a lot of alpha thrumbos, you can butcher them for up to 700 meat, 200 of the new leather type, the thrumbo mane, and the expensive yet powerful alpha thrumbo horn. Thrumbo mane can be crafted into highly protective clothing that you could also sell, along with the horn, to make a lot of money. The hardest to obtain animal from the Odyssey DLC is likely the hive queen. Found in underground lairs below insect megahives and some infested colonies, the hive queen is incredibly dangerous at melee range, able to chop off limbs from even heavily armoured pawns in just a few hits. She has the same requirements to tame as the alpha thrumbo, with a minimum animal skill requirement of 14 and only a 1.3% success rate with a pawn with max animal skill. Unlike all insects, she will continue to attack your pawns as you try to tame her, meaning you'll need both strong armour for your tamer and a lot of tanky colonists or animals to keep her distracted. Without a taming inspiration, it is very unlikely you'll be able to tame her. What makes her worthwhile to tame, however, is her utility. On top of already being a strong fighter on her own, every 2 hours she can spawn an egg sac containing a larva, letting you quickly build up a small army of cannon fodder, ready to overwhelm any raiders. And if you want an infinite source of insect meat, you can use her egg spew ability every 2 hours and butcher the larva for a maximum of 372 insect meat daily. Well, there were the 7 new animals from the Odyssey DLC that you should think about adding to your colony. If you plan on using any, or think any other new animal deserves a mention, let me know in the comments, and subscribe to see more videos like this one.